Hi everybody, welcome to Saturday Live at the Backyard Bird Center, or as Ruth wanted to call this session, Cooking with Mark. So we have been selling more and more of these suet log feeders. Just a great creative way to present suet for your birds. Woodpeckers especially, nuthatches, chickadees, titmice, all those suet loving birds. So with the sale of all these suet logs comes a lot of questions about filling them and presenting them. And so I thought I would address that today. The first thing we're going to talk about is the filling of the suet cakes, the suet logs. Now, we sell 3 different suet plugs. Now, if you'll see the shape of them, they are shaped like the holes for these logs, which is very, very convenient when it comes to filling them. But these are not the only things that you can put in here, and I'm going to address using just regular suet cakes as well to fill in these. And then we're going to talk about kind of some of the creative ideas of presenting the suet logs for the birds. So we'll get started with the filling part because that's the basics of it. I like the fruit and nut cake, the suet plugs. We also have the peanut butter suet plugs. And if you've got the squirrel issues or raccoon issues, we have the hot pepper suet plugs as well. And remember, when I'm talking about this, I'm going to be getting my fingers and mushy and all these things. If you're using the hot pepper suet plugs, I highly recommend wearing gloves to do that, because the oil they use in those to dissuade the raccoons and the squirrels from eating on them, it's very hot, and you don't want to rub your face or anything like that, especially after you've handled it. Even if you wash your hands a couple times, sometimes that oil still persists. So if you're going to use, and if you don't like greasy fingers, because this process is going to get my fingers greasy, you might want to wear gloves anyways. I never do, so but the gloves are something that you may want to include in your filling and mushing, as I'm going to call this procedure. So how do we fill them? Well, I already went ahead. First thing you're going to need to do is, take the wrapper off. It's already been peeled up for me. And I am going to put this in the microwave. The guy who taught me this years ago, the first person I ever bought the suet plugs from, he believed in putting it in the microwave for 11 seconds. So I popped it on 11 seconds and letting it run. Your microwave, once you've done it a time or two, you may decide that 9 seconds is better. You may decide that 13 or 14 seconds is better. All we're going for here is to make these easier to work with, because you want to mush them into the suet logs. And there are 2 different kinds of suet logs in that sense. This one, you can see that the holes only go a couple inches back into the log, whereas this one, the holes go all the way through the logs. Most of them are the ones that have the holes that go all the way through the logs. And if you don't mush your suet plugs in here, if you just try to stick them in there and leave them, a big woodpecker can hit on it and hammer, and the plug will come out the other side and fall to the ground, and it's free food for the pest on the ground. So mushing it in there, getting it good and stuck, is important for them to last a lot longer, and the woodpeckers can get all that out of there. They'll use their bills and they'll hammer in there. They'll use their tongue and get the little pieces out of there. So you definitely want to mush them in when you can. So my suet plugs are warmed up a bit, and if you want to notice in here, I've got a little table, but I also have a paper towel on there. A good idea is also what's it called? Parchment paper. Parchment paper is a good thing to lay down here to work on too, because you can get the crumbs off here, because there will be crumbs produced in this process. But I've pulled out one of the plugs that's in that package, and I kind of measure up against it, and I notice that this plug is longer than these holes are easily. So I break this one pretty much in half before I put them in here, and then I mush them. I push them in the hole, and then on either side I use my fingers to squish the plug in there, and that way it's filling all that empty space in there, and it's also kind of getting it gripped against the wood on the inside of the hole so it doesn't get pushed out on the other side as easy. Now I have another half here, and that's not enough to fill a hole completely, so I'm going to push that one in to the, this time I'm just going to use the bottom hole, and I'm going to leave it in there as it is just yet. Then I'm going to get my second plug out of the package, and I'm going to break it in pretty much the same length, about the half of the Suet plug, and then I'm going to push into the hole. And yes, some little crumbs are going to fall out. That's why I have the paper towel down, and if you want to use a plate or the parchment paper. And now I'm mushing this one in so that, again, it gets that good space all good and filled, and it won't come pushing out. Then I'm going to use that other half from that and then put it in the bottom one where the other half from the other one was, and I'm going to smush them together. Now, get some excess there, let it fall down into the tray I'm using, and push that in. Again, getting all that space used up. And I've got some excess here, and what I like to do is I just take the excess, and the top one has a little bit of space, so I'll mush that into there. This one has a little bit of space in it, so I will mush into that. At home, my dogs love to eat the crumbs that do make it to the floor. They find that the beef fat and the peanuts are yummy, but there's never a lot. It's just a little bit of crumbs so on there. So now there is a full suet log. Now we talked, I said I was going to make a couple of suggestions on presenting it. They obviously come with a hook, and so hanging it in a tree is going to get raided by raccoons and by squirrels if you do that. Mine is hanging on a pole with a raccoon baffle on it, so that doesn't. But here's another idea I really like. You can take, we have these post adapters, and especially one this size, this will screw right into the bottom of this pole, this log, and then this fits right on the top of one of the 1-inch poles. So this will stick above your pole. You can have arms on it, with your feeders hanging on it, but that's a really nice addition above there. And yes, if you want to take off this hook with the hanging hook, if you're going to present it this way, just take a screwdriver, put it in here, and back it out. And then you can just take it off and it won't ever be there again. So that's an easy way to do that. Now, the question came in, of course, is do I have to use the Suet plugs? No, you do not. You can use regular suet cakes. And here is my regular suet cake, and a knife and a plate. This is just a nutty butter suet cake that we've had on special during the sale. But all you have to do is take this suet cake out of the container and then take a knife and cut it into 3 strips. And basically you have the suet plugs. So, and then I would put it in the microwave and zap it for, I don't know, anywhere 9 to 11 seconds, somewhere in there to get it pliable, so you can push it in there just like you did those suet plugs. So a regular suet cake works. The plugs are just a little more simple to use, but they are very good. I love my suet plug formulas. Like I said, I love the fruit nut and the peanut. I don't have to worry about the raccoons because of my baffle. So it's a question we get asked all the time. I'm sorry I haven't addressed it before, because it is something that just by knowing a couple of little tricks, it can make it a lot easier. I get to go wash my hands now. I've got the excess on there, and then I'll wrap up my third plug, which won't fit into this log. I'll put that in a Ziploc bag, put it in the fridge, and it'll be ready for the next time I fill it up. So thanks for tuning in. If you would, give us a like, give us a share. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. That really, really helps us. Send in ideas for future programs. Until then, come by and let's talk birds.